Hi everybody, and welcome to the 2023 All Northwest Percussion and Winds Audition Materials Set B Alto Saxophone Edition. Our first track is going to be the Chromatic Scale. It's really crucial that you practice with a metronome at all times and that you prepare the excerpt at the speed that you were asked to do it in. So for our Chromatic Scale, we were asked to do this at a quarter equals 92. I'm going to show you what happens when I don't turn my metronome on. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. This is what happens. I go way too fast. Seriously. So here's 92. Dum. And I'm going to play it again at the proper speed. All right, moving on. Track 2, Ferling in D major. I'm going to take a moment to tune up. Here's how I tune. I'm going to play my, not concert pitch, my F sharp, B, and B. And I'm going to slur the octaves, and I'm going to check what my tuning tendencies are. And just in case you were wondering, I'm using an app called Tonal Energy. And it's showing that I'm sharp, so I'm going to pull out. I'm going to move the mouthpiece out, showing more cork. And now on the average, it looks pretty good. So here we are, Ferling study number 14 in D major. So a few pointers about this study. Of course, we're all going to make it to measure 9 and take the breath that's in measure 9. That's no problem. But after that, it's straight 16ths all the way through to the end. There's no way we're going to make it. So we're going to have to find a logical place for breath. Where do we do this? We're going to look at the harmonic context of the line, and we're going to try our best to find tension and release. Dominant, tonic, see that the chord resolves to the tonic, play the resolution note, and breathe right after the resolution. And there are a bunch of places to do that, whatever works for you. A good example for that is measure 14. We have an E7. And we're resolved to A major. So that would be a great place to breathe right after we resolve. I'm going to play my C sharp and breathe right after that. So just to show you how that works, I'm going to start in measure 11. Etc., etc., etc. So where do you breathe? It really depends on how slow or how fast you go. If you go faster, you can breathe later. But wherever you choose to breathe, decide and write it in. That is crucial because you don't want to turn your camera on and then all of a sudden decide you're going to do it completely different way than the way you practiced. Mark your breathing spot, practice it like that, and so this way you'll have a really, really good recorded performance. What speed you should go? Depending on the penultimate measure. So let's look at measure 30 and 31. That's the hardest spot in our etude. Right? And so we're going to figure out how fast we can do that cleanly, and then figure out, write that tempo down, and practice the whole piece like that. So, for me, right? And so I'm going to take that metronome marking and start. So I get to. It's clean, and I don't have to have total chaos in my last 4 measures of the etude. Last thing I want to point out, our last 2 notes, D, D. Right? It'll be really amazing if that palm D was not too sharp. So after that low D, when I play my palm D, my high D, I'm going to add 4. I'm going to add right hand index finger, which is called 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 finger down. That's going to bring the pitch down. So it's not too sharp. So it's just right into. All right, moving on. We have Debussy Rhapsodie. This excerpt is all about careful subdivision. It's really slow, and our beat is going to be the 8th note. So we have to subdivide. Da, ba da, ba da, ba do, be da. 1 and 1 and 2 and 1. Right? And that is the hard thing about this excerpt, not to shortchange the really, really, really long notes. I had the great pleasure of performing this Debussy Rhapsodie with an orchestra in Israel in 2008. And so I'm going to play this for you, imagining the whole orchestra behind me. There's a little bit of comma, or a little break in the pulse at the end of measure 10. Da, 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 ba. And you're going to hear it in my playing. So here it is, track 3, Claude Debussy, Rhapsodie. Vibrato throughout my very, very long notes. And hopefully you can tell that I'm using more vibrato the louder I'm playing and the more intense the music gets. Generally speaking, if you never played vibrato before, grab your metronome, put the metronome on quarter equals 66, and try to play 4 pitch undulations with each note. And that's going to get you at least started, moving your chin up and down with regularity. Etc. If you already know how to move your chin up and down really well, but you have a hard time putting it into the music, try to sneak in a quintuplet subdivision. It's really tricky because it sounds natural, but it's still subdivided. So for example, this is just for the practice aspect of it. I'm not suggesting you actually recorded that. Do it for the practice and then do it without. So I'm going to put my metronome on 52 and I'm going to play Yeah, 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 university. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it sounds just unsubdivided enough, it would work if you're uncomfortable with playing vibrato. I encourage you to put as much vibrato as you want on this excerpt. All right, our last alto moment for today is going to be, of course, Glazunov Concerto. So here we go, track 4, Glazunov Concerto. So in this excerpt, we have a lot of push, pull, right? We speed up, we slow down, we speed up, we slow down. It's really, really important that your listener can vaguely keep track of where the quarter notes are. So even though we speed up and we slow down, I'm going to make sure that my beginning of each mini phrase is really clear and obvious, and that it is not shortchanged in duration. So we have the secret melody. So every time I have a phrase marking, I take great care to not shortchange the very first eighth note of that phrase, to make sure that my audience can latch on to the pitch and they know where I'm at. Some housekeeping things to keep track of. We have lots of flats. Make sure that your flats carry through the whole measure. For example, measure 11. Right? A flat, note, 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 A flat again. Write it in your part right now with a pencil so you never miss it. The amateurs say, oh, I'm going to remember it later. The professionals say, The Idit of the present remembers this, but will the Idit of the future remember, right? So the professionals mark everything down. Mark every single flat that carries through the measure, so you will never miss it again. Measure 2. A flat, right? Measure 3, G flat. Right? So be sure to mark down all your accidentals. All right, I'm going to take a moment to change horns from alto to soprano, and I will be right back. And we're back with the soprano saxophone for the final frontier of band excerpts. Molly on the Shore is often requested for military bands and for high-stakes auditions. It's hard. I will do my best. Quick tuning note. All right, wish me luck. Alright, so let's talk about this excerpt a little bit. It's really fast, right? In my preparation process, I did not start at this tempo. I started literally at half tempo, and I played everything extremely slow, making sure that my half-step motions that are pinky oriented are not too fast, because that is actually what is hard about this excerpt. For example, in measure 18, we have the movement of D to E flat, the end of 2 into beat 3. If we're not careful, that's going to be E flat to D is going to be compressed. Sorry, D to E flat is going to be compressed, and it's going to mess up our pulse. And we don't want our pulse to crunch up on us. We want our pulse to be very tidy and regular. So that motion from D to E flat has to be really deliberate. You would not believe how many great players with beautiful sound, and they wiggle their fingers really, really, really fast, but the pulse is actually terrible because all the half steps are rushing. And so if you get a hold of that and you deal with that mess early in your development process, you're going to gain so much later. Now, you don't have to record your excerpt in the breakneck speed that I played for you before. If you record it slowly and cleanly with a beautiful tone, I think that's awesome. If you play it slowly, you need to wait for the resolution, B flat, and breathe after you B flat. If you go slow enough, you'll have plenty of time to breathe. It will sound like this. Does that make sense? And I think if you play it slowly with a controlled hand motion, that's a lot. That really, really shows the listening panel that you have mature musicianship and mature technique. So if the fast, crazy tempo is just too much, don't worry about it. Just play it cleanly and with a deliberate hand motion. And that's really, really, really good. All right? That's it for the alto and soprano audition for our excerpts. If you have any questions, comments, please do not hesitate to contact me. I'm always here. Ishner at uoregon.edu. ISHNER at uoregon.edu. Hit me up. I would love to hear from you about anything saxophone related. All right? See you soon.